Who is under indictment here? Donald Trump or the Democratic Party? Or maybe our whole country, seeing who's in the White House now, however he got there. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. This is another Declaration of Truth from your host, Terry A. Hurlbut. And no, I am not playing you for April Fools. This is the real deal. As everyone knows by now, a Manhattan grand jury actually returned a true bill of indictment against President Donald Trump. This has never happened before in the history of the United States, though it happens often enough in Latin America. But the question now arises, is Donald Trump the man under indictment in the court that really matters? Or has the Democratic Party indicted itself? I'm going to answer that question for you now. But first, I do want to shout out to the prime sponsor of this channel, which is Conservative News and Views. Link in the description. And be sure to check out the awesome CNAV Store. Scroll down near the bottom for that link. Lots of great merchandise there, especially this t-shirt that I've chosen for today, which depicts Donald Trump as the great MAGA king. And truth to tell, I think the better comparison would not be to a classical king at all, but to the most complete man antiquity ever produced, Julius Caesar. How so? Stay tuned. I'll come to that. One more thing. If you like what you're about to hear, you can like this video. You can also click the bell icon to get a notice every time I come out with a new one. In fact, do you see the new icon, the heart shape with the US dollar sign in it? That's the super thanks icon. If you really want to keep these videos coming, click that and leave me a tip. Any currency will do, so long as it's legal tender. And now, first, I've left a link in the description to an earlier article I wrote where you can read the initial details about the indictment, when it came down, and the initial reaction. I also have a link in the description to a tweet by New York County District Attorney Alvin Bragg that he left on Thursday evening, the day of the indictment. Quote, statement attributable to a spokesperson. This evening, we contacted Mr. Trump's attorney, singular, to coordinate his surrender to the Manhattan DA's office for arraignment on a Supreme Court indictment which remains under seal. Guidance will be provided when the arraignment date is selected, close quote. Now, remember, in New York State, what they call the Supreme Court, nearly every other state calls Superior Court. Though the indictment is under seal, and Bragg has said nothing to contradict that, rumors are flying. CNN quotes two Messrs. Sick-Dick. That's an acronym I invented. It means source close to the case. As saying that the indictment charges Donald Trump with 34 counts of white-collar fraud. The charges arise out of the alleged affair between Donald Trump and the actress who goes by the stage name Stormy Daniels. Those same Messrs. Sick-Dick expect Trump to appear before the New York State Supreme Court on Tuesday, April 4th, for arraignment. New York's finest had orders yesterday to report for duty in full uniform as a precautionary measure. Bragg has also accused Republicans of interfering with his office. In reaction to demands from 3 Republican House chairmen that he testified before their respective committees. Governor DeSantis of Florida said quite a mouthful about the indictment and any possible extradition. I have a link in the description to his tweet. Quote, the weaponization of the legal system to advance a political agenda turns the rule of law on its head. It is un-American. The Soros-backed Manhattan District Attorney has consistently bent the law to downgrade felonies and to excuse criminal misconduct, yet now he is stretching the law to target a political opponent. Florida will not assist in an extradition request given the questionable circumstances at issue with this Soros-backed Manhattan prosecutor and his political agenda. unquote, Ron DeSantis. He did not mention Trump by name, as Laura Loomer and many others have pointed out, but he left little doubt about which case he was talking about. And by the way, George Soros did finance Alvin Bragg's campaign to get elected Manhattan DA. Republican office holders have reacted in outrage. I have links in the description to 3 tweets, each by a different Republican office holder. Here's Senator Ted Cruz of Texas. Quote, "The Democrat Party's hatred for Donald Trump knows no bounds. The, quote, substance, unquote, of this political persecution is utter garbage. This is completely unprecedented, and it is a catastrophic escalation in the weaponization of the justice system," unquote, Senator Cruz. Next, Representative Kevin McCarthy of California, the Speaker of the House. Quote, "Alvin Bragg has irreparably damaged our country in an attempt to interfere in our presidential election. As he routinely frees violent criminals to terrorize the public, he weaponized our sacred system of justice against President Donald Trump. The American people will not tolerate this injustice, and the House of Representatives will hold Alvin Bragg and his unprecedented abuse of power to account," unquote, the Speaker. And last, Governor Sarah Huckabee Sanders of Arkansas. Quote, "Americans should stand united in opposition to the Democrats' politicization of our justice system and refusal to lock up violent criminals in favor of prosecuting their political opponents. D.A. Bragg should resign for his abuse of power and targeting of Donald Trump," close quote. Now look, I'll be the first to acknowledge that not all those people were sincere, but sincere or not, all of them felt a compulsion to condemn Alvin in the strongest possible terms. Next, I'd like to say a few words about the abundant allusions to Julius Caesar crossing the Rubicon and starting the First Roman Civil War. Before I do, I want to shout out to a sponsor who can really help you through the economic storms to come. That sponsor is oursilverlines.com. Do you feel like you're working harder for your money just to get by? You are not alone. The fluctuating economy, employment issues, and unexpected changes in life have left many families struggling over the past few years. Collecting gold and silver can help shield you against many of these challenges. But if you're like me many years ago, you don't know where or how to start. Our Silver Lines helps by connecting you with thousands of members who are learning the secrets to creating and protecting true wealth by collecting precious metals. Whether you just want to collect rare and unique coins or take advantage of the business opportunities this company provides, either way, they can help you learn to live an exceptional life. Visit oursilverlines.com to learn how you can build a legacy for your future. Now, as I was saying about crossings of the Rubicon, the comparison might be more apt than many people know. I didn't get a real classical education. I don't know who does. And as an aside, I think that is a serious lack in this country. But in the years since, I made up for it. So I happen to know exactly how that Rubicon crossing went down and what provoked it. Pay attention. And when I'm through, maybe you'll wonder why nobody ever put this into a movie. Rome, 49 BC. The consulship of Gaius Claudius Marcellus and Lucius Cornelius Lentulus Crus. The Senate met in the temple of Jupiter Stator, the regular curia having burned down during the funeral of Publius Clodius several years earlier. Lentulus Crus, as junior consul, introduced a national emergency declaration, the Latin for which is Senatus Consultum de Republica Defendenda, or Senatus Consultum Ultimum. This declaration named the power of intercession, or veto, by Rome's tribunes of the plebs as the cause of the emergency. Lentulus Crus did this to pave the way for a direct indictment of Julius Caesar by the Senate. He didn't want any interference from the tribunes of the plebs, any one of whom could have said veto, which means I forbid you to take this action. I think you'll find that the tribunician veto survives today as the presidential or gubernatorial veto in America. And the one who really worried Lentulus Cruz the most was Mark Antony, who had just taken office as a tribune of the plebs. Mark Antony was a bit of a jerk. Everybody knew that, but Caesar had sent Antony to Rome to be a tribune of the plebs because he knew he'd be effective. Well, not after Lentulus Cruz put forward that emergency declaration. Naturally, Mark Antony protested, "Veto! Veto! I forbid you to put forth that declaration!" Well, that's when Lentulus Cruz actually ordered his official escorts to throw Antony out of the Senate meeting place. Whereupon he and a fellow tribune galloped up the Via Flaminia and also sent a message by an even faster horseman to Caesar. The message reached Caesar and the 13th Legion outside their camp near Ravenna. When Caesar got the message, he made his decision. He mounted his war charger and led the 13th across the Rubicon. And when he did, well, most scholars say he said the die is cast. But I agree with another scholar who says Caesar would never say anything that fatalistic. More likely he said, let the dice fly high. The first of Rome's civil wars had begun. No one seriously expects Donald Trump to do anything so dramatic. In fact, news came in late yesterday afternoon that Trump's attorneys have already worked out details for his surrender and arraignment. I have a link in the description to a tweet linking to that news. But the consensus of many commentators is that the Democratic Party has now provoked Trump as no one has ever provoked a ranking statesman since Lentulus Cruz with his emergency declaration that so provoked Julius Caesar. Alan Dershowitz, a professor of law, has never sympathized with any part of the Donald Trump program, but he still retains a deep and abiding respect for the rule of law. And shortly after the indictment, he called the indictment, and I quote, a foolish decision, which will cause the case to be thrown out, I think, on statute of limitations grounds. Unquote, Alan Dershowitz. I have a link in the description to NewsMax interview with Dershowitz. See, the problem is, Bragg maintains that he could not have indicted Donald Trump within the statute of limitations because Trump was not a resident of New York. But now, Bragg has obtained an indictment while Trump was still out of state. That act alone invalidates any rationale for extending the statute of limitations. Now, of course, much depends on what else the indictment, which is still under seal, contains. Now I come to Erick-Woods Erickson, and I have links in the description to 2 articles by him. The first, or more recent one, dateline yesterday, calls this indictment, and I quote, the biggest political backfire, close quote. Alvin Bragg, he charges, is not very bright and empaneled a grand jury of rabid progressives. They actually thought they could send Trump to prison with this indictment, says Erickson. And he's probably right about that. But any trial will end in acquittal, which Trump can time to happen before primary season begins. Result, Donald Trump coasts to renomination and re-election. But here's the problem. The second article I have from him, that is the earlier one, earlier this week, accuses Trump of making the whole prospect of his arrest up to raise money. So now all of a sudden he says, Bragg, you moron, you idiot, you maniac, all you've done is make sure Trump will get elected. Any of a number of other candidates, whom Erickson will not name, by the way, might have taken him. But no, you had to ruin everything. But Eric, you didn't say boo about your having accused Trump of making all that stuff up. I think you owe Trump an apology. But aside from Erick-Woods Erickson, who never liked Trump at all, and Governor DeSantis, who is having his tame legislature repeal Florida's Resign to Run law for his benefit, the Donald Trump indictment might indeed have united the people. Todd Starnes said on the radio that we are all MAGA Americans now. I have a link in the description to a tweet of him saying that. And I want to quote you something he said on the radio. Quote, "The district attorney, Alvin Bragg, doesn't realize what he's done here. He really has unleashed the Kraken. The political Kraken." Unquote, Todd Starnes. Another attorney for Donald Trump said much the same. I have a link in the description to a video on Rumble containing the interview with that attorney by CNN. What will cement that union will be more than the spectacle of a weaponized criminal justice system. The American people will see selective application of the law in which people like Barack Obama and Hillary Clinton get passes, while Donald Trump faces indictment and trial even after the statute of limitations has run out. This case is almost the very definition of a bill of attainder, which flatly breaks the Constitution. Add to it Alvin Bragg's giving free passes to violent offenders, and no one will have any respect for him, nor for any prosecuting attorney elected to that office as a Democrat. Links to the description of the article, to my earlier article the morning after the indictment, to Alvin Bragg's official statement, to DeSantis talking about refusing extradition, to statements by Ted Cruz, Kevin McCarthy, and Sarah Huckabee Sanders, to the article announcing the negotiation of Trump's surrender and court appearance, to NewsMax interview with Alan Dershowitz, to the 2 articles by Erick-Woods Erickson, to Todd Starnes saying we are all MAGA now, to the CNN interview with another of Trump's attorneys, to my Declarations of Truth Twitter account and the Conservative News and Views. I've also left links to the awesome CNAV Store and our silverlines.com, as I also mentioned. You know already about how to like a video, turn on notifications, and leave a tip. On the end screen, I'm going to leave a subscribe link to my channel and links to the Trump arrest playlist and to 2 other videos that I'm sure I'll find among the many influencers to whom I've subscribed, talking about the indictment and what it means. This is Terry A. Hurlbut delivering another Declaration of Truth and reminding you to let the truth set you free.